Hello. Uh, yeah. First of all, let me just say, I know you've all been waiting on tenterhooks. I haven't posted anything in like what, like 5 days. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had a cold and or really bad allergies or something. I don't know what it was. My throat was all messed up. Like I tried to record this last night and it was a disaster. I mean, maybe if I can figure out how to edit, I'll put a clip in there to show you what it was like because it was pretty bad. It's a perfect record. God damn, I have a sore throat. I have a sore throat right now. I should not be doing this. But anyway, um, my favorite YouTube channel, Tastes Like Music, recently did their ranking slash retrospective of all of the Prince albums, and so I figured I would do that too. Uh, it just got me in the mood to talk about Prince again because I'm a huge Prince fan. I've only been a fan of his stuff for I first did the dive just like a couple months ago, like 2 3 months ago. Time has no meaning, but at some point earlier this year I did it, and I was really blown away by the breadth of his technical skill and his creativity and the diversity of his catalog and just what a brilliant and creative guy he was. So I was thinking we could just go through really quick. I got a lot of albums to get through. This is a very exhaustive tier list. I've already put some here that I'm not going to talk about, like singles, EPs, compilations, re-releases, but all the rest of these we're going to try to put up here. And let me just say for the record, because I'm going to be putting things in like C and D, and you're going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, those are pretty good records. Right? So just to clarify, like S tier is like 5-star albums. A is like a 4.5, B is like a 4, C is like a 3.5, D is like a 3, E is like a 2.5, and I don't think we're going to even need F because he didn't rate anything below that. So just so you know, if I put something in C, I'm not being like, it sucks. I'm being like, everything is relative. Okay, so a C for Prince might be like a B or an A for a less brilliant artist. So that caveat being said, let's jump in here and with his first couple records, both of which I am gonna put in C. See, this is why I did this disclaimer because these are both very enjoyable records, both really good R&B albums. He's still finding his voice on these records, but for what they are, for like embryonic releases, they're pretty wonderful, and just the fact that he played you know literally every instrument on them, even at the right at the beginning of his career, he was able to do that, is pretty crazy. And then after that, after Prince and For You, we move into Dirty Mind and Controversy, that era, and this was Prince, figuring out his, his aesthetic, his persona, all of the stuff was becoming solidified around then. So I would say on Dirty Mind and Controversy, he's almost the Prince you want him to be. He's right there. He's right on the edge. And I will say that I do want to come back to these early records at some point because I think I would appreciate them more now that I'm a big fan than I did when I listened to them initially. So it's possible that I could do this again, years from now, and all of these could be in very different places, higher places. But the Prince album that really made the difference for me is 1999, which remains my favorite Prince album. And just something clicked for me on this one. Like it's such an engrossing record. It's like really dancey and repetitive and trance-like and hypnotic, and it's just I think the track that first did it for me, that first clued me into the fact that this was going to be an artist I really, really liked, was a song called "Let's Pretend We're Married." where the lyricism on it was just it was ridiculous. It was kind of funny, but it was also very genuine. Like you could tell he meant what he was saying, and that's especially true of International Lover, which, if let's pretend we're married, set me up. International Lover was the moment when I was like, this guy is going to be one of my favorite artists. Just that whole extended monologue at the end about Prince Airlines. It's crazy. And that second half of Lady Cab Driver, where it starts out as like this, like seduction jam, like something you've heard before, but he's really good at it. And then it just goes into this extended monologue about like life and the creation of the universe and all this shit, and it's nuts. And I just fell in love with the guy's creativity and his sense of humor on that album. There are certain times during the Prince discography where I was like, is this supposed to be as funny as it is to me, or is it unintentional? And I think Prince, for a guy who quite rightly was very confident in his abilities, was able to like have a sense of humor about himself and stuff, and note when sometimes when he was being a little absurd. So I think it's intentional, but regardless, it's just hugely enjoyable and just virtuosically played like all his stuff. And I mean, Purple Rain also goes up in S. I don't know that I need to talk about why Purple Rain is good. I mean, it's one of his tightest albums. It's only it's 9 songs, and every single one on there is fantastic. I mean, When Doves Cry, Darling Nikki, title track. I mean, it's just one great song after another. The beautiful ones, forget about it. Um, Around the World in a Day, I think a lot of people were disappointed by as a follow up to Purple Rain, but it's a very creative and interesting album, bringing in kind of some more psychedelic elements. It has one of the few songs in his discography that just doesn't work for me at all, America. But it also just has some crazy, wonderful stuff like Raspberry Beret and Condition of the Heart and Paisley Park, and actually Raspberry Beret was the first Prince track I ever really loved, but it wasn't his version. It was the version by Hindu Love Gods, which was a supergroup with Warren Zevon being backed up by REM, and like that sounds incredible. And it was just like a covers album that they recorded in like 2 seconds, but it's fun. Parade. You know, I had Parade at a 4.5 during the dive, but the more I sit with it, the more I just absolutely love it. I mean, this album has Sometimes It Snows in April, which is my single favorite Prince song. Just a gorgeous song, this beautiful elegy. And if you just know him from, more kind of upbeat, dancey stuff like, When Doves Cry and Kiss and all of that, Sometimes It Snows in April will maybe come as a bit of a surprise. And it's really powerful. Though, I mean, this is the guy who wrote Nothing Compares to You, so maybe not. But I just really like the way this album is structured, which seems to be a sticking point for some people, but I really dig it. Like, the first half of the record is almost like an extended medley with all of these song snippets that build off each other. And then in the second half, you get all these bigger songs like Another Lover, Hole in Your Head, and Mountains, and Sometimes It Snows in April, and Kiss, and all of these just fantastic songs. And I just I found the form factor of it really exhilarating, honestly. But it's not for everybody. Now, Sign of the Times, I'm gonna put in A, which is like is already too low for a lot of people. I will say in that Taste Like Music video, one of them put it at 28, which gathered a lot of controversy in the chat there. But I'm not putting it at 28. It's my fifth favorite Prince record. Um, After these three, and one we're going to get to quite a bit later, actually. But yeah, I mean, Sign of the Times is incredible. It has that run of what is it? It's like Strange Relationship, I Can Never Take the Place of Your Man, and If I Was Your Girlfriend, all back to back, which is that 3 track run is maybe my favorite moment in Prince's entire catalog. I love the title track, like Adore the Cross. It's great. It's great. I mean, my only caveat with this record is I do think it gets a little weaker at the end of disc 1. There's like a little section there where I think, maybe that could have been trimmed a little bit. But it's a double album. You want it to be crazy. So I don't love everything on it, but the huge majority of it I think is incredible. Like I love Ballad of Dorothy Parker. I love Housequake. Like they're ridiculous songs, but they're ridiculous in a wonderful way. Oh, it's this Black Album. This is kind of this is going. This is when Black Album was recorded, not when it was released, because this was originally, famously, this was what he was going to put out before Love Sexy, and he thought it was evil, and he didn't put it out, and then he ended up putting it out later because he wanted to get out of his Warner Brothers contract, and he needed another album. So I think he was right not to release it, not because it's evil, but because it's kind of bad. I'm going to put it in D. It's just it has some interesting stuff. Like I like the closing jazz instrument. They United for West Compton. That jazz. I don't remember if it's no. It's not the closer because Rock Hard at a Funky Place, I think, is the closer. I don't know, but that's that jazz instrumental is really nice. I think, and I like Bob George. Bob George is a fucking weird song, but I find it appealing in an odd sort of way. It's like about as like Lynchian as Prince gets. But the album he put out instead, Love Sexy, is I think was a much better choice and a much better record. I mean, it's just it's a super fun record. It's much lighter than Sign of the Times. It's kind of the opposite of Sign of the Times. It's kind of a much shorter record, a much more cohesive record, and once again, like Around the World in a Day, following Purple Rain, I think Love Sexy, following Sign of the Times, kind of disappointed people just in that context. But removed from that context, it's a really fun record. I mean, it's got Alphabet Street, what's it got? It's got I Know, it's got Glam Slam, is I Wish You Heaven, Positivity. It's got a lot of wonderful stuff on it. Batman, yeah, Batman's like a C tier for me. I mean, I want to like it more because it's about Batman, but that's part of the problem because it's not enough about Batman. It's just like some unrelated songs that Prince just like shoved a couple of Batman references into. If there were more lyrics about Batman on it, like if Prince wrote a song about how he was the knight or something, then I would probably put it higher. But because it's so tangentially Batman related, it ranks lower for me. Graffiti Bridge, also not really one of my favorites. I think it's kind of a mess. I mean, it's nowhere near as wonderful as his previous 2 soundtrack records, Purple Rain and Parade. I mean, it's kind of not even really an album proper, more of a comp because it has other artists on it. I mean, they're all songs that Prince wrote, but it has a couple of good moments like Thieves in the Temple and The Question of You, but overall, it's just kind of a mixed bag. And now we move into an era that I like to call the Tony M era, uh, where Prince he wanted to incorporate some more like current musical trends, so he brought in this terrible rapper named Tony M, who they were recording this in like the early '90s. For some reason, Tony M is rapping like he's in like the Sugar Hill Gang, like it's 1978 or something. I don't know what he's doing, but Tony M really messes up these records for me, and I had to listen to them a few times before I could come to terms with it. But now for me, they're both C tier records because they both are fun and ridiculous albums, and Diamonds and Pearls has a lot of really good singles. It does. And Love Symbol is just kind of fascinating in its excess, I think. But, yeah, every time Tony M appears on one of these albums, it makes me just want to, like, smash my stereo and light it on fire. And then you got "Come," which this was one of the records that he kind of recorded to help him get out of his contract. Or this was kind of the reason he wanted to get out of his contract. Part of it, I mean, because they barely promoted this album, but it's there's not much to promote. But I mean, I think it's an interesting record. I don't know where would I put it. Where would I put it? I think I would put it in B. I mean, it's there aren't like a lot of classics on it, but I think it's an interesting and creative album, and it has a lot of diversity on it. He's trying a lot of new things. I think there's some interesting material on it, so I would put it in B, but certainly lower than these. This isn't all in order because that would be insane. Maybe I'll try to do that at the end. Then they throw in some side project stuff like this New Power Generation album. Prince did a lot of side project stuff where he would like what he used to do with Morris Day in the Time, where he would basically write all the songs and play all the instruments and produce it, but he wouldn't sing the songs. And sometimes he would even record all these parts under various aliases and pretend it was a whole band instead of just him, and then other vocalists would be brought in to sing the songs. He did this with Sheila E. too. I mean, with both Sheila E. and the Time, as it went by, they took more creative control over their own projects, and it became more of a collaboration between them and Prince. New Power Generation, it's really, these records are really more of like a collaborative kind of nature. And this first one, Exodus, is a solid album. It's like a C level album for me. The final track on here, I cannot remember what it's called to save my life, but the final track is pretty incredible. Um, and there's another New Power Generation one down here too called New Power Soul. Thankfully, they don't have the first New Power Generation album, which Prince isn't even really on, and Tony M's the lead vocalist, and it's as horrible as you'd imagine. This belongs up there too. But New Power Soul is basically a Prince album. Um, in fact, I don't know why he didn't release it as a Prince album. It's better than a lot of the stuff he was putting out at the time. It's a really solid record. Like I would give it a like a solid like B tier, no problem. Maybe even a light A. We'll keep it in B for now. Uh, it's becoming increasingly apparent to me that I'm not going to make it through this in one video. We'll get as far as we can. We'll do a part two. We'll do a part two. Gold Experience. Gold Experience is awesome. After a couple of lackluster Tony M riddled albums in the 90s, Prince really got it back in a major way and made one of his definitive artistic statements. And I put this up in A. It's just a super fun, super energetic, super enjoyable record. It's got Gold, the final track, this like big grand ballad that's one of my absolute favorite Prince songs. It's kind of like a loose concept record connected with these like fake operators talking on the phone operators. Yeah, but it's not as intrusive as like the thematic stuff on Love Symbol, for example. Did I even say the name of Love Symbol? I don't even remember. That's Love Symbol. Well, it's just the name of the record is actually unpronounceable symbol, but it's Love Symbol. But anyway, yeah, there it is again, but it's smaller on this one, so it's more palatable. It felt like Prince wasn't like chasing contemporary trends. He was just like being himself, and that appeals to me much more. I will say that. Chaos and Disorder, though, this was another one that he was just kind of doing to get that record contract over, and I would put that in low end of D. I would say. Um, I don't know. I like Dinner with Dolores. That's kind of a cool one. But other than that, I just think it's really kind of a throwaway. Like, it's decent, but it's a throwaway. Emancipation is when he finally got away from Warner Brothers, and he celebrated by doing this giant triple album that's 3 hours long. It is not good enough to justify that length, I don't think, but it still has plenty of wonderful stuff on it. I think good enough to put it up in C. Um, for some reason, I really like the covers on here. Like, he does a cover of "One of Us" by Joan Osborne. That I find really enjoyable, and he does a gorgeous cover of "I Can't Make You Love Me," which is, it's kind of one of my favorite Prince recordings. Period. Because it's just, he takes like one of the most depressing songs ever written and turns it into like a seductive slow jam. Like, it's like a sight to behold. It's fascinating, and I love it. And then he did this other triple album, Crystal Ball, which uh, I put this. You know what? It's between C and D for me. I think I'm gonna put it at the top of D. I don't know. Crystal Ball it has some good stuff, but it's so long and it's kind of a mess, and it's not even really an album. Like, I don't know why it counts as an album. It's a comp. It's like stuff that got didn't make previous albums, and it's got like some remixes on there and stuff. And if you're a hardcore fan, you should definitely check it out. And you should hear Chlorine Bacon Skin at least once in your life, just so you can, tell everybody you did it. Like, I don't know. It's a mess. I wanted to like it more than I did, but the fourth disc on Crystal Ball was The Truth, and The Truth is a personal favorite of mine. I am putting The Truth up in. I think I'm going to put it in B, but I'm putting it in high B, as high as B can go. Um, the Truth is kind of his kind of acoustic guitar, kind of a little more blues based kind of record, but it's quite diverse sonically, and kind of experimental, and I mean, some of it's a little goofy, but yeah, Prince is a little goofy in general, and I like the strangeness and the humor and the quirks of that record, and I just think, it doesn't have a lot of like all timer songs, but I just think the performances and the aesthetic are really pretty, and it's a very unique record in his discography too. I kind of wish he had more records like that. He had another one, One Night Alone, which is kind of the piano equivalent of The Truth, to go out of order. It's, for a second, it's kind of more him solo piano. And I would put that in A. I would put that near the top of A. I mean, I don't like it more than Sign of the Times, but we'll put it right there. Um, I just have so much fun with One Night Alone. I just think it's a super endearing album. Once again, are there any like immortal classics on it? Like, no, but it's just so personable. It sums up a lot of what I love about Prince. Um, Old Friends for Sale. This is kind of a jazzier one. I would put this in C. It's surprisingly enjoyable. I mean, once again, it was kind of a contract fulfillment record. It was just a bunch of outtakes and stuff. But for an outtakes record, it's surprisingly cohesive. I will say that. It's a good time. Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic and Rave Into the Joy Fantastic. Um, Maybe his most dated album as far as like 90s production, which is saying something when you have Diamonds and Pearls and Love Symbol in the discography. But yeah, I mean, he covers "Every Day Is a Winding Road" by Sheryl Crow on here. It's weird. There's some good songs on here. There's like "Pretty Man" and "The Greatest Romance Ever Sold," and but it's just it's too inconsistent and too dated, and the songwriting's not strong enough to get it anywhere um, above a D. And I would put them both in D, but I would put Rave. I can't tell which is which. I think this is Rave Into. I would put Rave Into above Unto. I think Into is the remake one, right? Whichever one is the remake one, that's the one I like more. The version of the greatest romance ever sold on there is just epic and crazy and fantastic. How much more time do I have? Am I going to do this in one? It's like 4 minutes. I can do it. Rainbow Children, incredible, brilliant. It's a record of just immense complexity and artistic integrity, and it's one of those records where every time you listen to it, you can hear something different. You know, he's got that Darth Vader voice on a few songs, which turns people off, like mechanized voice narrating it. I liked it. I think it's weird, and it's it's also a very Jehovah's Witness heavy album. But he convinced me. I'm gonna do it. Uh, I'm gonna I'm gonna witness Jehovah. Um, Expectation. Put it at the low end to B. Put it there. It's a jazz record. So is News, but News is boring as fuck, and Expectation isn't. Expectation is actually kind of fun. Musicology, that was like his comeback record, and I think it's pretty solid. It's like a C level for me, I would say. It was a good comeback, but it's kind of just him playing the hits. Really, it's not as creative as the stuff I most value from him. His follow up to that, 3121, I think was more in the spirit of his best work. I would put that up in B. Just a little more creative, a little more diverse in its execution. These two fan club albums, these were originally, just released to Prince's fan club. The and the music. I forget what his music club was called. NPG Music Club. I think is what. Anyway, I don't like either of those. They're I would have been fine with them just remaining in the shadows. And this one, I have listened to this. Not a people have listened to this. Sorry, I got the sniffles. C Note. It's like a jazzy album, and it has one song on it that's not, just a jazz instrumental called Empty Room, which is a nice song. Put that in E. What do I have? I have 2 minutes. I have 2 minutes. Planet Earth. Planet Earth is my favorite of his. I guess what's his comeback trilogy. Where would I put this? I would put this up in A. This is after controversy. It's got some great stuff. It's got what's it got? It's got Chelsea Rogers. It's got I'm going insane because I'm trying to do this so fast. You know what? You know what? You know what? No. Yeah, you know what? I'm drawing a line in the sand. We're gonna end it here. I'm gonna maybe buy the other version of this program at some point that will allow me to record videos that are more than half an hour long. But it's okay. We'll spread out the content. There hasn't been more content in a while. I'm going to record the second half of it right now, so I'm going to be wearing the same stuff. But it's to come. So see you then. It'll be a few seconds for me, but it'll be a day for you. Like, you know. See you in a bit.